started off as a young artist making paper. That's my formal training, paper making and print making. And I just liked using natural materials because I made my own paper using natural fibers. Beeswax was a material that I just gravitated toward as a way of giving the work a different kind of physical presence. And little by little, it took over. The thing about wax that's really interesting to me is that it's quite a lot like working with molten glass. You can almost imagine it moving, and you can actually make it move if you get it hot enough. But you can imagine that there's this gravity to the paint. The way that I'm lifting it up, you definitely see a little ridge along the bottom, a little lip of paint. So every time I'm laying it down on that hot palette, whatever wax is on the paper melts, and also whatever's on the palette itself is in a molten form. So I make this kind of reaction happen, where as I'm pulling the paper away, it's causing all this motion and like a tiny little tidal wave to happen, just at that one little space where the metal's hot and the paper's lifting away from it. And I'm such a fan of process. That's what I relate to as an artist. It's not about making a certain kind of object or picture. It's more about having a certain kind of experience. I like to show people what that looks like. I don't like to hide the process. I like to reveal it. In a way, I feel like I work like an archaeologist. It started off really literal. Like I was opening up old 1970s, 1960s natural science textbooks, looking at those cutaway diagrams of the Earth and how, these different processes show us the different strata, and that strata represents different eras of time. And to me, this was just the most fertile metaphor. So I've been working with a geologic metaphor in my work for the longest time now. I usually have a palette of colors in mind before I start a project, and I begin the project by making a sculptural form that I customize and put all kinds of little embedments in, and then I draw with it on a hot metal surface and pick it up on paper. So it's like this constant back and forth, ebb and flow, and that's what inspires the work. What's interesting and fun for me is to think about the parallels between natural processes and processes that I kind of invent in the studio. I give myself pretty careful assignments. I sketch them out and make notes, and I'm scientific about the process, but I'm only scientific insofar as I want to know what I can do with this, not what it is or how to classify it or anything like that. But I don't always know how color's going to react. So that's usually the surprise for me. It can, the way that colors mix together and the way that I use them, because I'm really letting the sedimentary particles of the pigment have a presence in the work. And it's like capturing that moment of fluidity that's really important for me. But if you don't capture it and you go too far, it's just mud.